Hi, I'm Scott, and these are my synths. Today we're going to find out which one of these has the best keybed and which one has the worst. Keybeds are really kind of a subjective thing, but there are some measurable or objective qualities that we can garner from each of them, and typically the ones that cost the most are the best, but not always, as you're going to see. So to do this, what I'm going to do is have a look at all the different synths I've got. Roland System-8, Novation Summit, Yamaha Montage, a Roland Fantom-06, which is out of frame that you can't see here, Korg Wavestate, Korg opsix, a Modal Cobalt8, ASM Hydrasynth Deluxe, a Fantom-06. Over here we have a Roland GAIA, a Roland SH-101, a Roland Juno-106, Roland JD-800, and a Korg Polysix. And upstairs, which is not in my studio, we have a Casio, what is it, a WK-240 or something like that. We'll shoot that one separately. So what we're gonna do is set up like a bracket, like you see in sports where they have this thing where you pit each, in pairs. The winner of each pair goes up against the winner of another pair and so on until you get down to one, and that one theoretically is the best of all of them. So I took a list of all the different synthesizers and I put them into a spreadsheet and then randomized it. So it put them in random order. So the synthesizers that are pitted against each other at the very beginning is completely random. That said, the randomization actually came out pretty well. It did some good contests. It did a pretty good job at not doing things like, pitting the Montage against the SH-101, which is just not a fair fight. So here's the bracket thing that we're gonna use. You can see the very first two we have set up are the Juno-106 against the opsix, the Korg opsix. So let's have a look at those two. We're not going to be playing the sounds of the synths. We're concentrating on the actual feel of the keybeds and the functionality of the keybeds. The Juno-106 it's actually a pretty decent keybed. It's not too noisy, has decent feel, no weights in the keys. It's an unweighted synth action. It feels nice. The pivot for the keys is fairly close, so it's not like a real high, like you get expensive keybeds with a pivot that are way back here, and you can really tell because the amount of pressure needed to move a black key compared to a white key is different. But it has a nice springiness. It has a nice soft felt touch to it. Good travel. This is an eminently playable keybed. And obviously this synthesizer has been around for close to 40 years and it lasts. It's a good keybed. The opsix has Korg's somewhat budget keybed on it. The same keybed they use on the Wavestate. It's not bad. It's definitely a synth action. It's a light synth action. There's no weights in the keys, so it's an unweighted synth action. It's springy. It's not too noisy. It's usable. The hinges are fairly close, so you can see the keys actually pivot right about here. So there's not a lot of real feel to it. It's a usable keybed, but it's not greatest, and it's definitely not something that I would really want to play for any amount of time. All right, between the opsix and the Juno-106, I'm definitely going to go with the Juno-106. I mean, just playing them together, this feels cheap. And this one feels, I mean, it's not a really expensive, nice keyboard, but it definitely is not cheap feeling. The Wavestate's, or the opsix is playable, but it's not a great keybed. So, Juno-106 on this one. All right, the next is the SH-101 versus the MODX. Now, the MODX I don't have here anymore because I actually sold mine, but I have had it for years. I know exactly what the keybed feels like, and I'm going to talk about it. Let's first talk about the SH-101. It, again, is a synth action, no weights in the keys. It actually feels pretty similar to the Juno-106, maybe a little bit less nice to play. Very quick. You can do very, very quick on this keybed because it's not a lot of pressure to play and it does come up pretty quickly. A nice felt feel to it. I I don't remember if I replaced the felt on this or not. I don't think I did. I think this is original. So the SH-101 has a decent feel keyboard, and now it is not velocity sensitive, and that's simply because the synthesizer doesn't support it. The MODX, on the other hand, again, it has a budget keybed on it. A lot of people hate on the MODX, and I'm going to talk about that in its closest competitor in a little bit. I didn't hate the MODX keybed. I actually found it quite easy to play. Again, it's an unweighted synth action keybed. It responds fairly quickly. It is decent enough that you can play pretty much anything on it. It's not great for piano, but for what it is on the MODX, it's a decent sounding keyboard. The MODX is a louder keybed than this one. I'm really having a tough time deciding between the MODX and the SH-101. I think I may simply have to go with the MODX simply because it does have the velocity sensitivity that the SH-101 does not. I know that's kind of more a capability of the synthesizer, but if I wanted to play either of these for any amount of time, I think I would go with the MODX, not the SH-101. So the Roland GAIA on its 37 key keyboard, it is again an unweighted, no weights in the keys, synth action keybed. It's actually a decent feeling keybed. I've actually played live with this one before, simply because it's small and light and easy to take places. Again, the hinges are very close up to the very top. Not quite as well cushioned on the felt as the SH-101 actually feels better. So does the Juno-106. But the SH-01, it is eminently playable. I have played piano patches on this, believe it or not. Usually I just play organ and that kind of thing, or pads or whatnot. And it is a usable keybed. I actually quite like the feel of this keybed enough that I've actually picked this to go out and play live with it. So, a decent keybed. It's a fairly quick keybed, but not as quite as fast as some of the other ones. I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the spring return, but you can play quickly on it, but I don't know, it just feels like it's a little bit less snappy on the return than some of the other keybeds. But definitely not anywhere near as bad as some of the other ones I have. I would pick this in a heartbeat over the Wavestate or the opsix. Okay, this one is going to be tough, and for one reason, and one reason only, is because I kind of suspect that the same keybed might be used in the GAIA and the System-8. Maybe? Maybe not. If not, they're very, very similar. So the System-8 is, again, just like the GAIA, it's a velocity-sensitive keybed, synth action, no weights in it. It's actually a bit quicker than the GAIA, I think. I think you can play very quick runs on this faster than the GAIA. Again, the hinges are right at the very top, so you do have different feel from the white to the black keys. When I did get this synthesizer, it actually wasn't lubricated on this last key. My last key squeaked, as you can see here. So I had to actually take this apart and transfer some grease from one of the other keys onto this one, and that solved it. Any case, the System-8 is an eminently playable keybed. I'm actually, you know what? I had originally thought the GAIA was going to win this one, but I think I'm going to go with the System-8. Not because it's 49 keys rather than 37, which is obviously a benefit, but I don't know. I think just at least for fast playing, and the overall feel, the return feel, is slightly different than on the GAIA, so I think the System-8 wins this round. All right, the mighty Hydrasynth. The Hydrasynth is the first synthesizer to come out in quite a while with a polyphonic aftertouch, and they really did it right in that the aftertouch on here is so eminently usable. Word of the week is apparently eminently. Why do I keep saying that word? I just noticed it now as I'm editing this video. Whatever, I don't know. Back to the video. I'm actually going to turn the sound up so you can see it just takes so little pressure. to bring that into this aftertouch realm, and it really makes this an incredibly expressive key bed to play. Now, it's fast, it's unweighted. Actually, is it weighted? It feels like it has weights. No, it doesn't. It is an unweighted synth action key bed. It's very fast. It feels very fast. It doesn't feel quite as high quality as some of the top key beds, but it is very close. It's not too noisy, very quick synth action. The return on it is very good. The springing is slightly more stiff than I think I would like it to be, but because I do seem to get just a little bit more fatigued playing this if I'm playing this for a long time. I don't know if that's because of the key bed, or it's perhaps because I end up playing this for so long and because I love the synthesizer. But overall, I tend to use this almost all the time to control other synthesizers simply because of the polyphonic aftertouch. And it doesn't have to be polyphonic. You can actually send mono aftertouch or MPE or whatever out of this key bed as well. So it not only is a great synthesizer, but it works great as a controller simply because of the key bed. So yeah, love the Hydrasynth. And going up against the Hydrasynth is the Summit. The Novation Summit, it does have a really nice key bed. Again, synth action, weighted? I think it is weighted. Or is it? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I never realized this before. Ho! The Novation Summit has a Model key bed in it. I had no idea this was a Model key bed. And if you don't know what Model is the parent company of Hydrasynth. So it's not a polyphonic aftertouch key bed like the Hydrasynth has. It is aftertouch, not polyphonic. However, just by feeling the underside of the key, I realize it's identical to the key that's on the Hydrasynth. So yeah, there you go. This actually has a Model key bed on it. It is reasonably quick. It's sprung about the same as the Hydrasynth, and it has a quite similar feel. Of course, the aftertouch is different. The aftertouch on the Hydrasynth, because it's polyphonic, when you press into it, it kind of like it's a rubbery squish, because as you push it farther and farther, it engages the aftertouch more and more. Whereas this one, you have felt that it hits to, and then when you push farther, it actually goes into the aftertouch strip, and there's just like a little extra step there, and that's what activates the aftertouch. And you don't have a whole lot of control over that aftertouch. It's almost on-off, and it's tough to get a little bit of extra control in there, but it's definitely there, and it's usable. In terms of feel, it's very fast, it's unweighted. I actually really like the Summit key bed. I use it a lot. The aftertouch, not so much. For that reason, even though the Summit is a great synthesizer with an eminently playable key bed. Again? Seriously? That I actually really quite like. I think I'm going to give it to the Hydrasynth just because it has that polyphonic aftertouch and just a slightly better feel to it. Okay, so the Wavestate, nothing really to be said there. It's identical to the opsix. Exact same key bed, so the exact same pros and cons. It's cheap feeling. This is the Casio WK-240. It is a really cheap and nasty, it's not nasty, it's a reasonable keyboard. It's a consumer level keyboard. It's very dusty. We use it just for accompaniment for ukulele and that sort of thing, and it's just for fun. This does not live in my studio, it lives upstairs. It has, it's a sample-based keyboard. It actually can sample. It has a sampler built in. It has drum machines and that sort of thing. It has a very light and cheap feeling action. Synth action key bed, cheap feeling keys, kind of noisy. I can already tell you right off, no question, this is going to end up on the bottom of the list, but I thought I'd include it just because I need an even number of synths to actually do this championship contest. So the Wavestate, between the Wavestate and the WK-240, I mean, the Wavestate is kind of a crappy key bed, just like the opsix. It's cheap feeling, but between this and the Casio, this wins it. So the Wavestate advances. All right, next we have the Fantom-06. This actually is a big competitor to the MODX. The Fantom-06 is to the Fantom what the MODX is to the Montage. So this is the downscale Fantom. It does not have aftertouch, but it does have a velocity sensitive keybed. I actually really like the keybed in this. And if I were to pick between the Fantom O series keybed and the MODX keybed, all day long I'd pick the Fantom. It's definitely quieter than the MODX in the keybed. It has a nicer feel. The felt is nice and soft. And in fact, the reason why you see this Fantom-06 over here on the left to, compared to all my other synthesizers are set up over here, but over right here, I have this Fantom-06 set up right next to my desk is because this is what I actually practice on. This is my live keyboard, for playing out live. And when I'm sitting here just doing techniques, scales or whatever, this is what I practice on because I like the keybed. So the Fantom-06 definitely, for me at least, it has it's a light touch, unweighted, very quick, very quiet, nice feeling, playable keybed. I really like the keybed on this one. All right, this is kind of not fair. Out of that random list that got picked, this is probably the only one that's really not fair. This is a very early generation keybed, non-velocity sensitive. It's not a great feeling keybed. It's hard to play the white keys up here because the hinge is up so close and it's fairly tightly sprung. It's an unweighted synth action keybed. It's pretty noisy. So yeah, not the greatest keybed. It's playable. It is. But it's 40 years old, and it's from an era when keybeds, or at least synth action keybeds, had not really been developed. So between the Polysix and the Fantom-06, no question, Fantom-06 wins hands down. All right, this one is probably going to be the toughest contest of this entire video. The Montage versus the Fantom-06. Both flagship synthesizers, very expensive synthesizers from two very large major synth manufacturers. Both synthesizers have high quality aftertouch enabled keybeds, so let's get down to it. The Montage, it's again synth action, but it is weighted, slightly weighted, semi-weighted keybed. It's a nice quiet keybed, extremely playable, very playable. I can play on the Fantom-06 and it feels good, but this keybed feels great. The keys are actually hinged farther up, so if you're playing up close to the top here, you don't need all that much effort because it's hinged way up inside here. That's pretty common with all premium keybeds. The pressure is not consistent all the way down, so as you press, it feels like there's almost like you get to a point and it almost releases a bit, and it gives you a more solid feel. It almost piano-like, but it's a synth action. So you just get a more instant tactile feedback of when you're playing. You know when you're playing keys because it just feels right. Yes, I practice on the Fantom-06, but this is probably when I'm actually recording, I probably use this keybed more than anything else, which is why you see it right here at the easiest, most accessible level of any keybed or any synthesizer in my studio. The only detracting factor from this is the aftertouch. It does have a really nice felt, down key felt feel to it, but the aftertouch is very stiff and very picky. So when you press into it, it's almost an on or off affair. It's very hard to modulate the aftertouch in the Montage. It makes me not really want to use the aftertouch other than maybe like open filters or something like that. Something where you just need to not modulate something slowly, or maybe like if you want to do vibrato, you can just like push into the vibrato and that will work. It is channel aftertouch, not polyphonic aftertouch. So Montage, I love the Montage keybed. But then we have the Fantom-06. The Fantom-06, I had no intention of buying this. It was an accident. Actually, it wasn't an accident, but it came up for sale and it was priced too cheaply for me to say no, so here it is. I already had the Fantom-06 and now I've got a Fantom-06. The keybed on this, a little bit noisier than the Montage. It is semi-weighted synth action. It's very quick return on it. It does not have that that kind of give that the Montage has, that gives you the nice feedback that you've actually pressed it. But it's very fast. The felt is a little firmer than the Montage on the impact felt. The aftertouch is again stiff. You got to really press into it, and it's hard to modulate, kind of like the Montage. I don't know why more manufacturers don't do like on the Hydrasynth, where you have a modulatable aftertouch. While this is probably one of the nicest keybeds of any of the synths I have in the studio, I think if I were to choose between the Fantom and the Montage, I gotta give it to the Montage. All right, the JD-800, again, another older synth with a weighted or semi-weighted synth action keybed. Pretty quiet. It has a nice feel to it. It does not come back as quick as some of the other keybeds. It's hinged a little further up, so but not too far. I mean, it's easier to play up high than some of the other synths I have. The keys are a little bit unstable and wobbly, so it's not as solid feeling as some of the other synths. It does have aftertouch. From the factory, the aftertouch on the JD-800 was kind of like the others, where you really have to push into it to get it to modulate. I actually made a modification to this to make it more sensitive, so it's more playable. That said, while it is a very playable keybed, it does not feel like a premium keybed. I'll play on it, but I would rather play this synth from other synthesizers that have a nicer keybed. The last one on the list, the Modal Cobalt8. This is a really nice keybed, and the reason for that is because this is actually a FTAR keybed. So Modal uses FTAR keybeds. As a result, this thing feels great. It's really nice feel. It has aftertouch while it's stiff, is not as stiff as, say, the Montage or the Fantom. It does have a nice little give right at the bottom there as you push into aftertouch. It's a semi-weighted synth action. It's quick, not quite as quick as some of the others, but it is a really nice feeling keybed. And it's not too noisy, it gives good feedback. It is hinged fairly close, so it gets a little tough when you're playing up top near the tops of the keys, and you get a different feel between the black and white keys. Actually almost feels like a little bit of resonance in there as you quickly move from the top. Between this and the JD-800, no question, Cobalt-8 wins, hands down. All right, time for the elimination rounds. The first elimination round is between the Juno-106 and the MODX. Juno-106, again, has that decent, really nice feeling premium keybed. I mean, back in the day, the Juno-106, yes, it was a kind of a poor man's Jupiter. I mean, the Juno has always been the lower end of the Jupiter line, but even back then, Roland used really good quality keybeds in their synthesizers. So while the MODX is a good keybed, it just doesn't compare. So Juno-106 over the MODX. Next, we have the System-8 against the Hydrasynth. It's not even a contest. Hydrasynth wins that one. It's just a better feeling keybed, better capabilities, a polyphonic aftertouch. You just can't get past the polyphonic aftertouch. It has a great feel to it as well, which the System-8 has good, but the Hydrasynth is great. Then we move to a contest between the Wavestate and the Fantom-06. Again, there is no contest. The Fantom-06 wins hands down. The Wavestate's just miserable. But the Wavestate and the opsix, same keybed. And the Fantom-06, I really like that keybed. Then we come up against the Montage versus the Cobalt-8. Again, the Cobalt-8 has a really nice FTAR keybed, but it's not the premium keybed that Yamaha uses on its flagship synthesizer. Montage wins. We can just speed through the next couple of ones. Obviously, the Hydrasynth versus the Juno-106, it's not a fair fight. The Hydrasynth has its modern polyphonic aftertouch keybed. The Juno-106 is 40 years old with 40-year-old technology. Yes, the Juno-106 has a nice keybed, but it's no match for the Hydrasynth. And when it comes to the Fantom-06 to the Montage, that's not a fair fight either. We're pitting the lower-end Fantom-06 keybed against the top-of-the-line Montage keybed. Montage wins. All right, so now we're at the absolute finals. It's up against the Montage and the Hydrasynth. I honestly did not expect it to come down to these two. I thought for sure Actually, I thought the Fantom might actually have been in the finals against the Montage, but the Hydrasynth, it's surprising me. So once we got here, the Montage versus the Hydrasynth, I was really on the fence because I love them both. I use them both almost equally for playing for different reasons. If I were going to say for piano, it would be Montage all day long. If it was for really expressive and evolving synth sounds, Hydrasynth, no question, wins. The polyphonic aftertouch is hard to get past, and there's just no equivalent to the Montage. I mean, you have a super knob and you have the, your touch controller here, but the immediacy and the expressivity that you get from playing the Hydrasynth Keybed with its polyphonic aftertouch, I think I'm gonna have to go with the Hydrasynth. So out of all the synthesizers, the Hydrasynth wins the best Keybed challenge. I hope this was interesting, entertaining, or educational to you. If you have any comments, please leave them in the comments section below. I really appreciate when you do that. Not only does it, when you interact with the channel, either by clicking like or especially subscribing really helps, but or leaving comments, it tells YouTube that, hey, you're interested in this channel, and then it says, well, you're interested in synthesizers. Maybe other people who are interested in synthesizers might be interested in this channel as well, so it will show them our videos. So just by taking 15 seconds to write, hey, great video, or hey, that video sucks, or clicking like, or subscribing. Obviously, if you subscribe, then you get notified whenever we post one of these videos. But by doing that, by taking that 15 seconds of interaction, it really tells YouTube, hey, I care about this. I want to see more about this in the future. You'll get more stuff like this in your feed, and other people with similar interests will also get to know about us. All right, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this. Thanks for watching.